The upscale restaurant falls into stunned silence as a pregnant woman stands, trembling, champagne dripping from her hair and dress. Her husband's mistress has just thrown a drink in her face and announced she's carrying his child too. But further along, the husband sits frozen, caught between two women, two futures. His mother rises slowly from her seat, her face a mask of cold fury that silences even the mistress's laughter. Anna Amuse wipes the champagne from her eyes, her 5-month pregnant belly visible beneath her soaked dress. Across the table, Ivy smirks, one hand resting possessively on Kingsley's shoulder. And at the head of the table, Mrs. Zara Amuse, the dignified matriarch who raised her son to be better than this, stands like a judge about to deliver a verdict that will shatter everything. What happens next will be exposing hidden truths, and prove that a mother's judgment can be more devastating than any court of law. This is the story of how one night of cruelty triggered a reckoning that no one saw coming, and how the consequences of betrayal became a lesson an entire community would never forget. Before we continue, let me ask you something quietly. Where are you listening from right now? And what time is it in your part of the world? Some of us are hearing this story under the hot afternoon sun, some in the calm of the night, when thoughts are heavy and hearts are open. Different places, one story, one lesson. If stories like this speak to your heart, please subscribe to the channel. Your like helps this story reach another soul. Your comment tells me you understand the lesson. And when you share, you may be saving someone from the same mistake. Now let us continue. Anna Amuse had never felt more beautiful than she did at 5 months pregnant. Her skin glowed with that radiance people always talked about, and for the first time in her 4-year marriage to Kingsley, she felt their future was finally taking shape. She worked as an accountant at one of Port Harcourt's leading oil companies, and Kingsley ran a successful engineering contracting firm. They lived in a spacious home in an affluent neighborhood, attended church regularly, and were respected in their community. But something had shifted in recent months, though Anna couldn't quite name it. Kingsley had become distant, preoccupied with what he called major work projects. He spent more evenings away from home, more weekends on site visits that couldn't be postponed. When Anna tried to share her excitement about the baby, their first child, he would smile and nod, but his eyes were always somewhere else. She told herself it was stress, that men processed impending fatherhood differently, that he would come around. Mrs. Zara Amuse, Kingsley's mother, was less charitable in her assessment. Zara had been a headmistress for 30 years before retiring, and very little escaped her sharp observation. When she visited Anna one afternoon to help prepare the nursery, Anna showed her some bank statements, confused about certain charges. Kingsley must have made a mistake, Anna said, pointing to a series of expensive purchases. Designer handbags, jewelry, spa packages. I never received any of these. Maybe they're for clients. Zara studied the statements with narrowed eyes. Over 50,000 naira at a luxury boutique. 80,000 at a high-end jewelry store. Regular payments to an upscale apartment complex in a part of town where they owned no property. The amounts were staggering and they were consistent monthly like rent. Anna, Zara said carefully, has Kingsley given you any expensive gifts lately? Anna shook her head, laughing a little. You know your son. He's practical, not romantic. He says we're saving for the baby. Zara said nothing, but her jaw tightened. She took photos of the statements with her phone while Anna wasn't looking. That evening, Kingsley came home late again, smelling of expensive perfume that wasn't Anna's. He kissed her forehead absently and went straight to his study. Anna prepared his favorite meal, but he barely touched it. When she asked about his day, he gave vague answers, checking his phone constantly. I have a surprise, he said suddenly, looking up. I've made reservations at the Pearl restaurant this Friday. You, me, and my mother. A proper celebration for the baby. Anna's face lit up. Really? Oh, Kingsley, that's wonderful. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Wear something nice. What Anna didn't know was that across town, in a luxury apartment paid for with money from their joint accounts, Ivy was trying on a new dress Kingsley had bought her. She stood before the mirror, adjusting the fake pregnancy belly strapped beneath the designer fabric, and practiced her smile. The belly was expensive, medical-grade silicone that looked and felt real. She'd used it before, in Lagos with a banker, in Abuja with a civil servant. But this time was different. This time, Kingsley was wealthy enough to be worth the extended effort. 2 years she'd invested in this con, and now it was time for the payoff. She pulled out her phone and texted Kingsley. Friday can't come soon enough. Time to stop hiding. Kingsley read the message and felt his stomach turn. He looked at the photo of Anna on his desk, her gentle smile, her trusting eyes, and felt something twist inside him. But he didn't reply. He just turned the photo face down and deleted Ivy's message. Friday? He whispered to the empty room. God help me. The Pearl was the kind of restaurant where politicians made deals and oil executives celebrated contracts. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables draped in white linen, and the view of the Port Harcourt waterfront glittered through floor-to-ceiling windows. Anna felt self-conscious in her simple cream maternity dress. Modest, comfortable, nothing like the glamorous outfits other women wore, but Zara squeezed her hand reassuringly as they entered. You look lovely, my dear, Zara said, though her eyes were fixed on her son. Kingsley was already sweating despite the air conditioning. His collar felt too tight, his expensive charcoal suit suddenly suffocating. He kept glancing toward the entrance, his leg bouncing under the table with nervous energy. Anna noticed but attributed it to anxiety about becoming a father. Zara noticed and knew better. They had just ordered appetizers when Ivy arrived. She moved through the restaurant like she owned it, turning heads in a red dress that hugged curves Anna couldn't help but notice. Her hair was styled in elaborate braids with expensive extensions, her makeup flawless, her jewelry clearly costly. She walked straight to their table without hesitation, as if she'd been expected all along. Kingsley, she exclaimed, her voice carrying across nearby tables. What a coincidence. Anna watched her husband's face drain of color, then flush red. Ivy, what are you doing here? I have a reservation too, Ivy said smoothly, her eyes sliding over Anna with barely concealed contempt before landing on Zara with feigned warmth. You must be Kingsley's mother. I've heard so much about you. I'm Ivy, his business partner. Zara said nothing, simply gestured to an empty chair with deliberate calm. Join us. Kingsley looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Anna felt confusion giving way to something cold and terrible in her stomach. Ivy sat down without waiting for further invitation, signaling a waiter to bring wine. So this must be Anna, Ivy said, her smile sharp as broken glass. The wife. Kingsley talks about you constantly. Always so dutiful. The word hung in the air like an insult. Anna forced a smile, her hands trembling in her lap. And you're his business partner? Among other things, Ivy said, her hand landing on Kingsley's arm with casual possessiveness that made Anna's breath catch. We work very closely together. Long hours, late nights. You know how demanding the contracting business can be. Zara's eyes tracked every gesture, every word, every glance between her son and this woman. She saw how Kingsley wouldn't meet anyone's gaze, how Ivy touched him like she had earned the right, how the woman's eyes gleamed with something cruel and triumphant. That's a beautiful dress, Anna said politely, desperately trying to ease the strange tension suffocating their table. Thank you, Ivy purred, running one hand down the red fabric. Kingsley has excellent taste. He always knows exactly what I like. She paused deliberately, letting the implication settle. My favorite foods, my favorite wine, my favorite designers. We've spent so much time together that he knows me better than anyone. Anna's hands began to tremble visibly. The waiter brought champagne, the most expensive bottle on the menu, ordered by Ivy without asking. We should celebrate, Ivy announced, pouring herself a generous glass. After all, this is a very special time for everyone. New beginnings, new families, new futures taking shape. Yes, Anna said quietly, her voice barely steady. We're very excited about the baby. Ivy's smile widened into something predatory. Babies, she corrected, her voice suddenly cutting through the restaurant noise. You should say babies, Anna, because there's more than one on the way at this table. The entire table went utterly still. Anna stopped breathing. Kingsley's face turned gray. Zara's eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. What did you just say? Anna whispered. Ivy stood slowly, champagne glass in hand, and placed her other hand deliberately on the prominent curve beneath her red dress. I said babies, Anna. Plural. Because I'm pregnant too. And the father is sitting right here at this table. Ivy raised her champagne glass high enough for nearby tables to notice, and the restaurant's gentle murmur began to fade as people sensed drama unfolding. "I'd like to make a toast," Ivy announced, her voice projecting with practiced confidence. "To new life, to honesty, and to love that refuses to hide anymore." Anna sat frozen, her heart hammering so violently she thought everyone could hear it. Kingsley stared at his plate, hands clenched into white-knuckled fists on the white tablecloth. Only Zara remained perfectly still, watching with the focused intensity of a judge waiting for a confession. "You see, Anna," Ivy continued, turning to face her directly with theatrical precision, "while you've been playing house and counting down the months until your baby arrives, Kingsley and I have been building something real, something passionate, something he actually chose instead of something his family forced on him." Gasps rippled through nearby tables like waves. Several diners pulled out phones, sensing a scene worth recording for social media. "Ivy, please," Kingsley finally managed, his voice barely audible. "Not here. Not like this." "Why not here?" Ivy demanded, her eyes flashing with rehearsed indignation. "I'm tired of hiding. I'm tired of being the secret while she gets to parade around as the wife." She placed one hand dramatically on her stomach, and that's when Anna saw it clearly, the unmistakable curve of a pregnant belly beneath the tight red dress. "I'm 6 months pregnant," Ivy declared loudly enough for half the restaurant to hear. "Further along than you, Anna. And the baby is Kingsley's." The words struck like physical blows. Anna couldn't breathe. The elegant restaurant spun around her. She gripped the edge of the table with both hands, her mouth opening and closing without producing sound. "That's impossible," she finally whispered, her voice breaking. "Kingsley, tell her that's impossible." But Kingsley said nothing. His devastating silence was confession enough. Ivy laughed, a brittle, cruel sound that cut through the shocked quiet. "Oh, it's very possible. We've been together for 2 years, Anna. 2 entire years. While you were at your office crunching numbers in your boring job, I was with your husband. While you were planning your perfect little family, he was planning a real future with me." She leaned forward across the table, her voice dropping to a venomous whisper that somehow carried to every listening ear. "He told me he never loved you. That you were just the sensible choice his family approved. That marrying you was the biggest mistake of his life. You're just the duty he was stuck with. A placeholder." Tears began streaming down Anna's face. She tried to stand but her legs wouldn't cooperate. "And this baby?" Ivy continued, rubbing her belly with exaggerated affection. "This baby is wanted. This baby is loved. This baby comes from real passion, not obligation. When our child is born, yours will call me mother too. Because Kingsley and I are building a real family together." Anna finally found the strength to stand, her chair scraping back with a harsh sound. She refused to make a sound despite the tears. She wouldn't give this woman the satisfaction of hearing her break. "Oh, and one more thing," Ivy said, her smile turning vicious. "Remember that night last month when you had that scare? When you thought you were going into early labor and couldn't reach Kingsley for hours?" She paused for maximum effect. "He was with me. In our apartment. In our bed. He chose me over your emergency." The cruelty of that revelation broke something in Anna's expression. The nearby diners gasped audibly. "Where do you think you're going?" Ivy demanded as Anna took a step back. "Sit down, Anna. I'm not finished exposing the truth you've been too blind to see." "Yes, you are finished," Anna said, her voice shaking but determined, one hand protectively covering her pregnant belly. That's when Ivy picked up her champagne glass and threw the entire contents directly into Anna's face. The champagne soaked Anna's hair, ran down her face in humiliating streams, dripped onto her modest dress and her pregnant belly. The restaurant erupted in shocked exclamations and gasps. Anna stood there trembling, liquid dripping from her chin and eyelashes, utterly humiliated before dozens of strangers who now had their phones recording every second. "That's for being too stupid to see what was right in front of your face for 2 years," Ivy hissed with satisfaction. "Too trusting. Too naive. Too boring to keep a man like Kingsley interested." The restaurant held its collective breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Then Zara moved. She rose with deliberate, terrifying slowness. She reached for the crystal water pitcher at the center of their table, gripped it with both hands, lifted it high, and poured the entire contents, ice water and ice cubes, directly over Kingsley's head. Water cascaded down his face and expensive suit. Ice cubes bounced off his shoulders and scattered across the white tablecloth and marble floor with sharp sounds. The restaurant went completely, absolutely silent. Kingsley sat there, soaking wet, finally looking up at his mother with shock and shame. "If you won't defend your wife," Zara said, her voice cutting through the silence like a blade of judgment, "then I will not claim you as my son. A man who sits silent while his pregnant wife is publicly humiliated is no man at all. And he is certainly no son of mine." Zara drove Anna home in silence that felt heavier than any words could carry. When Kingsley tried to follow them to the parking lot, still dripping wet and stammering apologies, his mother held up one hand with such authority that he stopped in his tracks as if he'd hit an invisible wall. "Don't," she said simply, her voice cold as winter. "Don't you dare." At Anna's house, the house Kingsley had bought with money from both their salaries, Zara helped her daughter-in-law inside. She ran a warm bath, made strong ginger tea, and sat with Anna while she mechanically removed her champagne-soaked dress. Anna moved like someone in shock, her movements slow and disconnected, as if her body and mind had separated. "I trusted him," Anna whispered finally, sitting in the warm bathwater but seeming not to feel it. "I trusted him completely. With everything. How could I have been so blind?" "Trust is not blindness," Zara said firmly, sitting on the bathroom floor beside the tub. "Trust is a gift. He didn't deserve it, but that doesn't make you foolish for giving it. It makes him unworthy of receiving it." Over the next 3 days, while Anna called in sick to work and let Kingsley's desperate calls go to voicemail, Zara made moves that would change everything. She'd already suspected her son's infidelity. The bank statements had been enough evidence, but she'd hired a private investigator 2 weeks earlier, right after Anna had innocently shown her those suspicious transactions. Now the investigator delivered his complete report, and it was more damning than even Zara had anticipated. She read it in her living room, her face growing colder with each page. Bank transfers totaling over 12 million naira. Receipts for jewelry Anna never received. Lease agreements for a luxury apartment. Text messages retrieved from Kingsley's cloud backup where he called Anna, the obligation, and Ivy my real future. But the most shocking discovery was about Ivy herself. The investigator had uncovered what Ivy never expected anyone to discover. She wasn't pregnant at all. The belly was a prosthetic, medical-grade silicone purchased online and shipped from China. The investigator had traced the purchase, found the packaging in her apartment's trash, even located the online tutorial videos she'd watched to make it look realistic. More devastating still, this wasn't Ivy's first time running this con. Her real name was Chidinma Okafor. She'd done this before, in Lagos to a banker named Michael, in Abuja to a civil servant named Chukwuma. Always the same pattern. Target successful married men, create fake pregnancies, extract money and gifts over months, then disappear before anyone could verify the pregnancy or demand a doctor's visit. But this time Ivy had made a critical mistake. She'd stayed too long because Kingsley was wealthy enough to be worth the extended effort, and in staying she'd left traces everywhere. The investigator found her real identity documents, found her actual marriage certificate to a man named Victor Okafor, a truck driver in Calabar who'd been desperately searching for his wife for 8 months after she disappeared with his savings. Most damning of all, the investigator found the online forum where Ivy, under a fake name, had bragged about her schemes to other scammers. Screenshots showed her calling Kingsley, an easy mark with a guilty conscience, and Anna too trusting to be a threat. She'd even posted photos of the jewelry and designer items Kingsley had bought her, laughing about how simple it was to manipulate married men. Zara gathered every piece of evidence with methodical precision. Bank statements, photographs, text messages, the investigator's comprehensive report, screenshots from the scammer forum, receipts for the fake pregnancy belly, contact information for Victor Okafor. She contacted family members one by one, her husband, her brothers, her sisters, extended cousins. She reached out to church elders and community leaders. She made careful, strategic arrangements. Then she made one more crucial phone call. "Victor Okafor?" she said when a tired male voice answered. "My name is Mrs. Zara Amuse. I'm calling from Port Harcourt. I found your wife, Chidinma." The man's voice broke with a mixture of relief and fury. Where is she? What has she done now? Everything you probably suspect, Zara said. But this time she's not going to disappear. This time she's going to face what she's done. Can you come to Port Harcourt this Saturday? After confirming the details, Zara called her son. Kingsley, she said when he answered on the first ring, desperately hopeful. You will come to my house on Saturday at 3 o'clock sharp. You will be there. And you will face what you've done in front of everyone who matters. Mama, please, I need to talk to Anna. I need to explain. Anna is under my protection now, Zara interrupted, her voice like iron. You lost the right to speak to her when you chose public humiliation over honor, when you chose a liar over your wife, when you chose to be a coward instead of a man. Saturday, 3 o'clock. If you don't come, I will make sure everyone in Port Harcourt knows exactly what kind of man you are. And that is not a threat, it is a promise. She hung up before he could respond. On Saturday afternoon, Kingsley arrived at his mother's house to find cars lining the entire street. His stomach dropped when he recognized them. His father's Mercedes, his uncle's vehicles, the pastor's car, family friends, community elders. As he walked to the door on trembling legs, he saw neighbors watching from windows, knowing something significant was about to unfold. Inside, the living room had been transformed into something resembling a traditional tribunal. Chairs faced a central space where his mother sat elevated slightly, like a judge presiding over a court. Anna sat to one side, flanked protectively by two of his aunts. She looked smaller somehow, worn down, but her eyes were clear and determined. Extended family filled every available seat. His father sat in the front row, and when their eyes met, Kingsley saw nothing but bitter disappointment. And then Ivy walked in, still wearing the fake pregnancy belly under a gold designer dress, confident and defiant, believing she'd been summoned for the victory she'd been promised. Her confident smile faltered when she saw the crowd of stern faces all turn toward her. What is this? She demanded, but her voice had lost its edge. Zara stood slowly, holding the investigator's report like a prosecutor holding evidence. This, she said quietly, is justice. Sit down, Miss Okafor, Zara commanded. Or should I say Mrs. Victor Okafor? Ivy's face went pale. The room leaned forward collectively. I don't know what you're talking about, Ivy said, but her voice had lost its confident edge. Zara held up the investigator's report. Your real name is Chidinma Okafor. You're married to Victor Okafor, a truck driver from Calabar. You disappeared 8 months ago after stealing 60,000 naira from your husband's savings. You've run this same con on at least 3 other men that we found, fake pregnancies, extracted money, disappeared before you could be exposed. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. Kingsley's head snapped toward Ivy, his face confused and horrified. That's a lie, Ivy shouted. Is it? Zara pulled out her phone and placed it on speaker. She dialed a number. Hello, a male voice answered. Victor, this is Mrs. Zara Amuse. Is your wife's name Chidinma? Yes. Do you know where she is? I've been searching. She's in Port Harcourt, calling herself Ivy, pretending to be pregnant with another man's child while spending his money. The room could hear Victor's sharp intake of breath. Then a stream of furious words in Igbo. Ivy lunged for the phone, but Zara's brothers blocked her path. The pregnancy belly is fake, Zara continued calmly. Purchased online. I have the receipt from her email account. She held up printed evidence. I also have text messages where she discusses this con with other scammers, calling my son an easy mark, and Anna too stupid to notice. Kingsley looked like he might be sick. He turned to Ivy, his voice broken. You're not pregnant? Instead of answering him, Ivy tried to run. 2 of Kingsley's uncles stepped in front of the door. Remove the belly, Zara said quietly. Now. Or I'll have these women do it for you. 3 of Zara's sisters stood up, their expressions making it clear this wasn't a bluff. Ivy's hand shook as she reached under her dress and unstrapped the prosthetic pregnancy belly. It fell to the floor with a hollow thud. Underneath, her stomach was flat. The room exploded in outrage. You destroyed my marriage for this? Kingsley shouted, standing. You made me humiliate my wife, made me betray everything I believed in for a lie? You destroyed your own marriage. Zara said coldly. She gave you the opportunity, but you made every choice. Every naira you spent on her came from accounts you shared with Anna. Every lie you told, every night you stayed away. Those were your decisions. She turned to address the entire room. My son has spent 12 million naira on this woman. 12 million naira that belonged to his family, to his pregnant wife, to his unborn child. He chose lust over loyalty, pleasure over principle, and when given the chance to defend his wife in public, he sat silent and let her be humiliated. Kingsley's father stood, his voice heavy with shame. I raised you better than this. The question now, Zara continued, is what justice looks like. As his mother, I could forgive him. As a Christian, I could speak of redemption. But as a woman who loves Anna like my own daughter, I choose accountability. She pulled out legal documents she'd had prepared. Kingsley Amuse, you will sign over full ownership of your marital home to Anna. It will be in her name alone, secured against any claim from you. You will repay 12 million naira to Anna from your personal inheritance, the property your grandmother left you. That land will be sold and the full amount transferred to Anna's personal account. Mama, Kingsley started. I'm not finished, Zara cut him off. You will accept a complete divorce with no custody rights to the child Anna is carrying. You will not contest it, you will not fight it, you will sign whatever papers are put before you. You will have no claim to Anna, to the baby, or to the life you destroyed. The church pastor nodded his approval. The Bible speaks clearly about the consequences of adultery and deception. Kingsley sank into a chair, his face buried in his hands. As for you, Zara turned to Ivy, you're going to have a conversation with the police about fraud. Victor, are you still on the line? I'm here. Victor's voice came through the speaker. Where exactly in Port Harcourt? Zara gave him the address. There are officers waiting outside. I called them before this meeting began. Fraud, theft, forgery. I believe they'll find plenty to charge you with. 2 police officers entered the room on cue. Ivy screamed and cursed as they took her arms, but no one moved to help her. As they let her out, she turned to Kingsley one last time. You were nothing. Just another stupid man with money. The door closed behind her. The room sat in heavy silence. Finally, Anna spoke for the first time since arriving. Her voice was quiet but steady. I accept these terms, and I want it known. I will raise my child to understand that actions have consequences, that betrayal carries a cost, and that some broken things can never be repaired. Kingsley looked at her with desperate eyes. Anna, please. I made a terrible mistake. I'll do anything. You'll do exactly what your mother has outlined, Anna said. Nothing more, nothing less. And then you'll live with what you've chosen. 6 months later, Anna gave birth to a healthy baby girl. She named her Zara. The home, now legally hers alone, became a sanctuary. Mrs. Zara Amuse visited daily, helping with the baby, supporting Anna as she started her own accounting consultancy. The business thrived. Word spread in the community about her integrity, about what she'd survived, about the strength she'd shown. Kingsley's contracting business suffered. Clients didn't want to work with a man known for such public dishonor. His family kept him at arm's length. He sent gifts for the baby, but Anna returned every single one unopened. On the evening of baby Zara's dedication at church, Kingsley stood outside the gates, watching through the fence as his daughter was blessed, as Anna smiled surrounded by family and friends, as his mother held her namesake granddaughter with fierce protective love. He raised his hand as if to wave, but no one was looking at him. Inside the church, the pastor spoke about new beginnings and God's grace. Anna held her daughter close, surrounded by people who loved her, and for the first time since that terrible night at the restaurant, she felt something like peace. Outside, Kingsley turned and walked away alone, locked forever outside the family he'd destroyed, carrying the weight of consequences that would follow him the rest of his life. Some doors, once closed by betrayal, can never be opened again. Thank you for staying with me to the end. Comment your thoughts on the betrayal, and tell me where you are watching from. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. What do you think happens next? Comment below.